Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm excited to see you here today, and today I've got an insane list for you. It's not the spiciest list you've ever seen. There's a couple other lists floating around right now, but I'm telling you, OG Zoro is the real deal in this meta. Most people have shifted towards Zoro with the animal package, but it seems like there's a growing number of people, including myself, who are starting to play the OG Zoro variant, and he is still a beast. Let me tell you, I'm loving this deck list. I've been having so much fun with it on the sim, and I can't wait to share it with you all. In today's video, we're going to be taking a deep deck profile, taking a look at all the cards in the deck, and talking about them. Then, of course, we've got a giveaway for a custom Zoro leader. You're going to want to check that out. That card is really nice. And then, of course, we've got games on the sim. We're going to take this list to the sim, see how it does, and then talk about it afterwards. And with that being said, let's get into the deck profile, but don't forget to subscribe. For those that don't know, OP01 Red Zoro is a mono red 5000 power 5 life leader with the simple ability of Dawn ×1 during your turn. All of your characters gain plus 1000 power. This is a crazy ability. It allows you to play really small characters that don't seem like a threat at first and aren't a threat in many other decks. But in Zoro, because they have that innate plus 1000 power with his ability, you get to turn those into legitimate swings really quickly. There's a lot of different ways you can build him. Right now I'm playing the OG style, and I can't wait to hear what you think about this list. Starting off, we have two of the 2-cost 3000 power 2k counter Sanjis from OP01. This is a activate main once per turn. You may take the top card of your life and add it to your hand. Then you give this card plus 2000 power and 2 rested Dawn. This is a good way early in the game to apply a lot of pressure. If you have a Dawn on your leader when you do this, this becomes an 8000 power swing. A 2-cost 8000 power swing is pretty absurd. Now, I'm only running him as a 2 of, as I don't love how long it takes his ability to pop off, and then at the same time it does require you to take life, which you don't always necessarily love the idea of doing. So for that reason, I run him at a 2 of. He's a nice 2k at the end of the day, and yeah, that's all I gotta say about him. The classic OP01 Nami Searcher. Who doesn't love OP01 Nami? 1 cost, 2000 power, 1k counter. You're just looking at the top 5 cards of your deck, looking for a Straw Hat Crew type card and adding it to your hand. A lot of the cards in this deck are Straw Hat Crew, so you should never whiff with this. I mean, it's possible, but it's very unlikely. There's not a lot to say about this. She becomes a viable swing with a couple of the other cards we have in this deck. Again, with the OP01 cards, I'm telling you, they still work well all the way now in OP10. 3 cost, 5000 power, rush Roronoa Zoro. There is not much to say about this card. Just a great rush card early in the game, late in the game. Give it Dawn to your leader. Now you've got 2 6000 power swings with Zoros. Who doesn't love that? 2 of the Curly Dawn from OP02. This is a 2-cost 3000 power character with 1k of counter. Their ability is that you get to search the top 5 for a cost 1 or less character. There are a lot of cost 1 or less characters in this deck. This is usually hitting, and a great way to do multiple searches in a turn. Play this, grab a 1-cost character, search with the 1-cost character. Yeah, you're finding the cards you need for the most part. 1 cost 0 power Makino from OP02. This is a 2k counter, which is great, but probably some of the most utility you'll ever see in a deck for a 2k counter. Activate main, you may rest Makino and then give one of your cost 1 characters plus 3000 power. This immediately turns a Nami, it turns a Magra, it turns a Buggy into a 6000 or 5000 power character right away, and then combining that with your leader ability, these 1-cost characters are going to be menacing. This is also a pseudo blocker in the sense that if you have this on the field as rested, your opponent is going to have to deal with it one way or another. They would be crazy not to want to deal with this Makino and getting it off the board ASAP. This has got to be a 4 of in my opinion. Next up, we have Magra from OP02. 1 cost, 2000 power, 1k of counter, similar to Makino because he's going to help some of your 1-cost characters swing at your opponent. And he does that with the ability of on play, one of your cost 1 characters plus 3000 power. Again, you have a lot of targets for this effect to hit. And at the end of the day, even after you use his ability, even though you can't use it the next turn, you can then turn him into a viable swing. Next, we've got 1 cost, 3000 power Buggy from OP03. Now this card, I don't think you're crazy if you maybe don't run this card. He's a 1 cost 3000 power searcher, no counter, that searches for an event card. Then he also has the ability of this character cannot be KO'd while battling / attribute characters and leaders, which if your opponent does not realize it, they can just be asleep at the wheel and try to KO him with a slash type character or leader. And then you just say, nope, doesn't go through. Now I've messed around with the ratios of this card because I found myself whiffing on a lot of searches. Maybe it's just bad luck, but sometimes you whiff with this card and it does feel pretty bad. I upped the count of radical beams and the zero cost counter event. In my first iteration of this deck, I was running 3 radical beams and 1 zero cost counter. And I had 2 more Sanjis. I decided to get rid of the Sanjis and add these more events and also an extra Gum Gum Mulgun, just because I hated whiffing with this buggy. Even if you do whiff with this buggy though, he's a 1 cost 3000 power character, easily gets powered up to swing at your opponent. 2 of the 3 cost 3000 power Sanji from OP10, 1k counter, which is nice, but what we really like is that during your turn, he gets plus 3000 power, turning him into a 6000 power character for only 3 Don. Then on KO, you get to draw a card. So if you're not playing against a deck that has trashing or bouncing capabilities, you're going to be able to get a card back when this character is inevitably KO'd. While it is a solid card, I don't think it necessarily has to be a 4 of in this deck. Let me know if you feel differently though, I would love to hear your opinion. 4 of starter deck 1 Brook, 2 cost, 3000 power, 2k counter. He is mostly going to be used, at least in my experience, as a 2k counter, but he does have some utility. His on play allows you to give up to 2 rested Don to your leader or one of your characters. This is a great way to, again, turn a small body into a valid attacker. The only reason I maybe don't play him out as much is just because I'd rather keep him in my hand as a 2k. I've seen some lists of this run him at maybe 2 instead of 4, and I definitely think that's valid. Next is a card I don't think a lot of people are running anymore, but man, do I really love this card. Starter deck 1, Rush Luffy, 5 cost, 6000 power. Not only is it a rush card, but it also has the insane ability. This is like the OG Goldie Roger. Don times 2 when attacking. Your opponent cannot activate blocker during this battle. This is amazing for going for game. A lot of people will just hide behind a blocker or 2. I'm looking at you, Blackbeard. Throw this down, give him 2 Don, and yeah, just go for game. An amazing card. I mean, he's also only 5 cost, so you can play him earlier in the game if you really want to. I definitely think this card is great and deserves a spot in this list, at least as a 1 of. You could, of course, run Diable Jambe at 1 or more, but I like the fact that this Luffy is, yeah, 5 cost. You can play him early, and he's also searchable, and the amount of searching you're going to do in this deck, hopefully you'll be able to find him. This new 5 cost 6000 power starter deck 21 Luffy is perfect for Zoro. Not only is he a rush card, 5/6 body, which is really solid, his when attacking ability lets you give 1 rested Don to either your leader or one of your characters. Giving it to your leader is obviously going to be the best move for the most part, because then that gives all of your other characters plus 1000 power, including Monkey D. Luffy, so he's really a 5/7 rush card that if your opponent can't deal with on their 6 Don turn, he's going to be a menace for them to deal with later on in the game, just because he's going to get you so much value by getting that rested Don on your leader to use your leader ability. 2 Gum Gum Red Hawk. This is mostly played nowadays in Red Shanks lists, but I think it's still good enough to run in Zoro. Of course, you're going to be using most of your Don during most of your plays, but I do think there's situations where it makes sense to keep 2 Don up and then playing this card out. Of course, if you have it and it makes sense in a pinch, this is mostly going to be used, in my opinion, to get rid of a late game blocker. So for example, leaving 2 Don up, if your opponent swings and they've got a chump blocker on the field, I think this is a great way to get rid of that chump blocker. And if they don't have another blocker ready, that could be the end of them, you know? For those that don't know, it's a 2 cost event, give plus 4000 power, and then KO a 4000 or less character on your opponent's side of the field. 4 radical beams. As I said before, I was running these at 3, but then I bumped it up to 4 just for the sake of the buggy. I really think 3 is probably a fine number, but just for my buggy searches, I was going with 4. This is a classic 1 cost counter. If you have 2 life or less, this is plus 4000 power. If you have more than 2, then it's just a 2000 power counter, which isn't really anything special, but hey, it could come in handy. Not a ton to say about this. This is a classic red staple, and I like it in this deck a lot. 2 of the 0 cost 3000 power counter event, Bad Manners Kick Course. Now, you're not crazy if you don't run this card, just because we do already have a decent amount of counter, and it's not like we are full of counterless cards. But of course, we do have a couple, and I think this event can come in handy. Trash one of them from your hand, get plus 3000 power. There's not much to say about that, just a solid 0 cost counter event. It does have the trigger to give minus 3000 to one of your opponent's characters, which could save you in a pinch. Next, we're running one of the Diable Jambe from Starter Deck 1. Now, this is an event card that I've seen most people running maybe at 2, but because we have that 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy Rusher, I think we're okay to run it at 1. Running it at 2, though, is definitely not a crazy idea. For those that don't know, Diable Jambe allows you to turn one of your leaders or characters with the Straw Hat Crew typing as unblockable during this turn, which, of course, you're just going to throw this on your leader and go for game. It's absolutely crazy and a great way to finish games. If you find this card early, you're just going to let it sit in your hand for the most part until that very last turn when you're trying to go for lethal. Last but certainly not least, we have Starter Deck 21's Gum Gum Mulgun, a new addition which I really like in this deck. 4-cost, activate main, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 5,000 power. Then if you have a 6,000 power character, you then KO one of your opponent's characters of 2,000 power. So you can either minus a 7,000 down to 2, then pop it, or you can minus something down 5,000, then pop something else, for example a chump blocker, and then swing into whatever you minused. There's a lot of different options with this card, and that's why I love it. It's very nice early game to maintain board advantage, but then also late game it can help you get rid of a blocker. For only 4 Don, I feel like this is great value, and then it does have the trigger, which allows you to activate its ability, which getting that out of life is crazy. And with that being said, that's my red OG Zoro list. I'm loving the deck. I already said that, but I'm going to say it again. It's really fun. Consider trying it out yourself. I've got the deck list in the description. As you'll see in the games, man, do these games go by quickly. When you're red Zoro, you're just pressuring your opponents from turn 2, and yeah, sometimes it can be really hard to deal with depending on what leader your opponent's playing. I definitely think this can be a meta relevant threat, at least in the current OP10 meta, maybe not in EBO2 or OP11, but right now I definitely think he's a valid choice. If you're a fan of the Zoro package, let me know how this list compares to it and how you feel about the differences. I, for one, am really enjoying this list, but if you prefer Zoro, let me know. With that being said, let's get into the giveaway. Today we're giving away a custom Red Zoro leader using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I am not selling this. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. Then if this video gets 25 likes in the first 24 hours, I'll randomly choose a US-based commenter and send it to you for completely free. That's all you got to do, folks. It's completely free for this beautiful custom leader. And if you're feeling so inclined, if you want to help the channel out, if you want to make my day, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. I know you're tired of me yapping. You want to see this deck in action, so editor, roll the gameplay. Our first match of the day is going to be against a red-blue Marco from OP08. I don't want to spoil anything, but I may or may not have a video on this leader in a couple of days, so if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe. We are going to be on the odd curve. I think that's the move for us. We're going to play down a buggy and whiff. Man, that feels bad, but at the end of the day, he's still a 1-cost, 3,000 power character that can easily get up to 5,000 power with our leader ability and some of the other cards in our deck. 3 Don for us to work with. We're going to start with a Makino play and power up our buggy. We're just going to apply a ton of pressure onto them. We are going to swing with the buggy first, or at least that's what I consider. 6,000 now with the buggy. I'm not going to use leader ability, and instead I'm going to play down the 2-cost Sanji. I think that's the move here, just to put a ton of pressure on my opponent. We've got 3 decent bodies on board that they're going to want to deal with ASAP, just because that Makino, even though she's only a 0 power character, can give your 1-cost characters crazy value. I don't think I would have been crazy there either to give a Don to my Zoro, and instead of playing the Sanji, play the 1-cost Buggy Searcher 2. They're going to start by clearing our buggy. That is perfectly fine. 3 Don left for them still to work with. They're going to play down the Blocker Fossa. This looks like a deck that's playing a lot of small bodies, perhaps. That seems to be the way for Marco nowadays. Then 3,000 with Monet into our Makino. We're going to have to let that go. 1 Don left up. They'll pass it back to us. We are going to actually do a Luffy play. The 5-cost Luffy is so good in this deck. I absolutely love him. We're going to swing first 7,000 into the Monet just to clear it off the board. Then we're going to do the Sanji ability, swing 8,000 at their leader. They will block out of that, and then 6,000 with our leader. I guess I could have done that in a different order, but I do worry about potential triggers in a Marco deck. They do run some blue cards. It wouldn't be surprising if they ran Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger, or Gum Gum Red Rock. With those triggers, they'd be able to get rid of that Sanji before we got value out of it. They used the Divine Departure as a counter to get out of that leader swing. I guess they really just want to protect their life. Marco is only a 4-life leader, and going against an aggro leader like Zoro can be really tough for Marco leaders. Unfortunately, we're going to have to let that Luffy go, and then they're going to play down the Blocker Marco from OP02 for 4 Don. We're going to start with a Buggy Search on our turn. 3 great choices for us: Red Hawk, Mulgun, and Radical Beam. I think Mulgun is the move here. It'll definitely help me deal with whatever bodies they do keep on board. I think we got to go with Mulgun. I'm not really too worried about them pressuring our life, at least yet. We're going to give it down to our leader. Before we swing with our leader, we are going to play down that 3-cost rush Zoro. The reason we do that is because we need more rested Don to fully take advantage of Sanji's ability. So we're going to do that even though it's risky with triggers. We'll give a Don to our leader, swing 7,000 now with our rush Zoro, and then we'll probably swing 7,000 with our leader. They took that first Sanji hit, now 7,000 with our rush Zoro. They're not going to use the blocker here, but they will counter out of it, giving us a 1k and a 2k. Now we're going to swing 7,000 with our leader. They will block that. Are they going to bring that Marco back? They will by trashing another Marco from their hand. That is one really cool thing about that 4-cost Marco, is that you get to trash a Whitebeard type character and bring it back to the field. They're going to play down the 7-cost Newgate, which is so strong in this deck. Pop our 3-cost Zoro, RIP Zoro. Then they're going to give it down to their leader. They're going to use leader ability to draw a card and then put one at the top. Give minus 3,000 to the Sanji. Swing 7,000 out of it. And of course, we are going to let that go. Here, I would really like to clear at least one of the characters off their board. If I can get that Newgate off the board, great. But at the same time, before I go crazy with that, I do want to pressure life. They only have 2 cards in hand, and we can easily set ourselves up for a nice lethal play. I'm thinking that we use Mulgun to actually pop the Marco. It's tempting to pop the Newgate, or at least put the Newgate in range for us to swing into it and get rid of it. But this Marco is definitely the better choice in my opinion, just because we want to get that blocker off the field and put pressure on their life. We're going to do a search with Curly Dodon, draw the 1-cost Nami, and then I think we're just going to swing first with Buggy, 7,000 into their leader. We're going to ignore the Newgate, even though they will be able to get value out of it. I think just pressuring their life is the move here. 6,000 now with our leader, 2k counter out of that. We're going to play down the 1-cost Nami searcher, hoping for like the 5-cost rush Luffy that's unblockable, or another rush card, but alas, we only find the 0-cost event, or at least that's the one I think is the best card to take right now. With Beckman, they're going to be able to pop our Curly Dodon. 7-cost Newgate is going to pop our Magra. I imagine they're going to swing now into the Buggy. 7,000 with their leader. They will KO the Buggy, and then they will pass it back to us. We might even be able to get game here. We're going to play down the Magra to power up our Nami. We're going to be able to swing big with that, and then swing with our leader as well. I'm thinking just about how I should split up my Don here. Nami is already at 6,000, so I don't think I need to go too crazy. I'm going to swing 8,000 with her, and then I can swing big, or 9,000 with her, and then I can swing another 11,000 with leader. Unless they have a radical beam, I think we're going to be pretty good here. I'm debating leaving a Don up just to be safe in case I get a radical beam out of life if they want to try to pressure me and pull some late game shenanigans, even though it wasn't really necessary. I was going to win that game either way. GG's. On to the next matchup, which is against Red Hair Shanks, a really strong leader. I'm not exactly sure how this Zoro matchup goes, just because yeah, I mean, Shanks plays some big bodies that we can't answer. We just have to hope to pressure them to where we have so many characters on board they can't deal with them all. The Buggy whiffs, which feels so bad. It really feels bad when Buggy whiffs, but at the same time, I said it in the last game, he's a 1-cost 3,000 power character. That is very good for our overall game plan. Anyway, we're going to start with the 5,000 power swing from our leader. They'll, of course, use leader ability, and then we're going to play out the 3-cost 3,000 power Sanji. That becomes a 6,000 power character on our turn. I really like this card in this deck just because if they want to KO it before we get value with it, we get to draw a card, which is huge. We'll take their first swing and we get the Red Hawk. No point in using their trigger to deal with that building snake. They are going to play down the 5-cost Marco and pop our Sanji, which is fine with us again as we do get to draw a card. Of course, we prefer for it to stay on the board, but alas, it is what it is. With Magra, we'll power up our Buggy, and then we're going to swing 7,000 with our 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy from starter deck 21. Giving a Don to our leader powers up all of our characters. They will take that hit. Now we'll swing 6,000 with our leader. They'll counter out of that, and now 7,000 with Buggy as well. They'll take that, and I'll pass it back to them with 7 Don to work with. We could see a Beckman here. That would be a great way to get rid of my Luffy. They're going to play down the 3-cost Hongo, then use Building Snake to minus the power of my Luffy. This stinks. I wish we could keep Luffy on the board this turn, but I did understand it is what it is, and it probably would not stay on the board. Now they're going to swing 6,000 into our Buggy. We're going to, of course, let that go, and then for 4 Don, they'll play down the Tony Chopper. That was not that bad of a turn in terms of what they were able to establish. Nothing really too crazy. We do the Curly Don first, search, get the Machina, which will be great to power up some of our 1-cost characters. I think we really just pressured them here, giving 1 Don to our leader, playing a Magra to power up another Magra. The question is, do I pressure life or try to clear this Marco? I think we clear the Marco. just because if they want to use his ability to bring him back a couple times, then we're just getting cards out of hand. So that's good news for us. We're going to start off with a nice old 7,000 power swing into the Marco with our buggy. If they want to give us cards out of hand, great. If not, even better. They'll let it go, which is great news for us, and we are just going to pressure their life like crazy. I might leave 2 Don up for that Gum Gum Red Hawk. I think that would be a pretty good option to clear this Hongo. They could combine that Hongo with a lot of different cards, and so, yeah, I would like to get rid of it if possible. We're going to pressure their life. We will be able to get a hit off on them for 6,000 with our Zoro. Now they're down to 2 life. The reason I didn't want to just go straight for their life there is because giving Shanks a bunch of cards towards the end of the game is just very dangerous. They can be hard to kill sometimes. They do have that 8 cost Rayleigh, which is so strong. Being able to clear our buggy, give minus 3,000 and minus 2,000 to 2 of our other characters. They are not really going to get us a ton of value this turn. 5,000 into our Magra, and I'm going to be crazy and actually use the Red Hawk here just so we can clear that Hongo. Keeping that Magra alive is a little bit maybe crazy, but I think it's worth it. We are going to need all the swings we can possibly get. They did not go for the Makino that turn. I think maybe going for the Makino there would have been a better idea than the Magra. We're going to start off with a Makino power up to our alive and normal powered Magra. Give him a Don, give a Don to our leader, swing 7,000 at their life. Really just trying to put pressure on them and do what we can. We don't have any amazing plays this turn. I might be crazy and even give Don to maybe our Curly to Don. Or maybe just swing really big with our leader. I don't think that's a bad idea either. We'll probably establish this 3 cost Sanji too. Wow, I wish I had a 5 cost starter deck 21 Luffy right now. That would definitely hit the spot and provide amazing pressure. Instead of the 3 cost Sanji, I think we're better off just swinging really big into their life, or as big as possible at least. The longer this game goes, probably it's better for our opponent. So if we can end it as soon as possible, I think that's best for us. They are going to take that hit. They're down to 1 life. Now we're going to swing 8,000, which they will block out of that. I'm really surprised. I mean, maybe they don't have a lot of counter cards in hand. They do have another Rayleigh at least though. This was probably best case scenario for them. They're going to be able to minus the power of 2 of my characters, then pop the Makino. Now they're going to swing 6,000 into my rested Magra. Now they're going to swing 8,000 into my powered down Magra and then pass it back to me, also playing down the building snake. Only 4 cards in hand. Man, I wish I did have a rush card right here, because I think if we do, we probably win. They will concede before we can go for the final blow, which definitely catches me off guard, and I'm a little bit disappointed. I don't know necessarily if I would have gone all the way for game, just because I really would have had to throw a ton of Don on Curly to Don, and they did have 4 cards in hand, 2 of them being 2Ks, so there is a chance that I do not go for game there that turn. Maybe I use Mulgun and try to KO one of their Rayleighs. I think I would have pressured their life as much as possible though, and I don't think it's possible for me to lose on the crackback, so we more than likely did have that one in the bag. So GG's, on to the next one. We are going to start off with a buggy play, and we whiff again. It's actually crazy how much we are whiffing. I swear when I'm not recording games, I rarely whiff. I think there's maybe some bad voodoo going on right now, making it so during my recorded games, I'm whiffing a lot with the buggies, but I do think buggy is very valuable in this deck. 2 Don for them. They're going to play down the Duval and set the top cards of their deck. We've got a couple of good options here, but I think right now the best thing for us to do is to go wide and pressure as much as possible. Boa will inevitably be able to bounce a lot of our characters, but if we can just flood the board and make it so that they're not able to get all of them, we should be in a good spot. We're going to start off with a 7,000 power swing with our buggy, then a 6,000 power swing with our Zoro. They'll block the first swing. We'll play down a Makino in preparation for next turn and then pass it back to them. They'll probably be able to clear my buggy with their leader swing, and then also maybe a card or a way to bounce one of my characters. With no more Jinbei, the bounce law does not necessarily work here. I guess it still does work, and they'd be able to bounce the law back to their hand and then bounce one of my characters, but they're not establishing a body, which means very little pressure on me. 5,000 into the buggy. I could actually be crazy and counter this, but I will definitely not get rid of 2 strong 2Ks. 4 Don left up for them to work with. Are we going to see the bounce law here? We will not. We'll see 2 1-cost blocker laws from starter deck 3, and then they'll pass it back to us, leaving 2 Don up. I don't think that's for an event. That is probably just unused Don. We'll start with a Nami search, nothing too valuable there. The Diable Jambe, maybe I should have taken that just for a late game. That could be really valuable as well. We're going to use Makino's ability to power up our Magra. We're going to be able to swing 6,000 now with Magra. 3 Don left up. Maybe I leave that Don up for a Red Hawk. We will see. 6,000 now. I probably should have swung 7,000. I will probably play down a Makino as well this turn just to continue to flood the board and make it so they can't deal with all the bodies. 7,000 now with our leader. They did take that first 6,000 power swing. They will block that second swing, and then I'm going to pass it back to them. Using Red Hawk, I will hopefully be able to keep maybe one of my characters alive and then KO the Law blocker or another blocker if they decide to play maybe another Duval or 3-cost Dofi if they play that card. 6 down for them to work with. They're going to start off with a 5,000 power leader swing into our Makino. Should I use the Red Hawk? I could use Red Hawk and then also 2k counter with the Brook. That is a little bit crazy, but let's do it. We'll clear our blocker, then use our Brook 2k. We have 2 other 2ks in our hand, so I'm not really too worried about that. I wouldn't mind if they pressured life a little bit, just so we can get some more cards and fill up our hand. They're going to have the 3,000 worlds to bottom that deck, that Makino anyway. Not a big deal. Then they're going to play 1 Sengoku Searcher, draw the Dracula Mihawk from starter deck 3, then play another Sengoku and draw the OP01 Dofi blocker, passing it back to us. 7 down to work with. We'll start out with a Curly Dedan search. We find the Nami. Then with Nami we can get, we have so many good options here. That 5-cost Luffy is so enticing. A Mulgun is also enticing. You can't go wrong with 3-cost Zoro or a Radical Beam or Red Hawk. I decided to take the 5-cost Luffy just because that card is absolutely amazing. I'll also play down a Makino to power up our Magra or Nami, I guess. It doesn't really matter. We'll be able to swing 6,000 with Nami, and then maybe we swing 5,000 with the Magra too. Actually, I think we might be better off just swinging big with our Nami and our Zoro. They're going to counter out of this first Nami swing for 7,000, and then we are now going to swing 7,000 with Zoro. They will take that. We get them down to 2 life, and we've got a lot of bodies on board. They'll start with the 2,000 power swing into our Makino. Of course, we'll let it go. Now a 2,000 power swing into our Nami. We're going to let that go too. 3 bodies on board. We've got a Rusher in hand. I think we're in a decent spot. For 6 Don, they will play down that OP07 Boa 6-cost that freezes one of our characters and then bottom decks a 1-cost. They didn't attack there, which I find interesting, but I wonder if it's just because they are trying to starve us a bit. That would make sense to me. But at the same time, you're going to have to attack us eventually. Off the Nami search, we do find the Radical Beam. I think that's a good card to have in hand just to keep, hopefully, our bodies alive. We do play down the 5-cost Rush Luffy here. It'll probably get removed next turn, whether they swing into it or bounce it or bottom deck it with something, but it is what it is. We have no other choice, really. We got to put pressure on their life. 7,000 now because we used Luffy's ability to give 1 Don to our leader, giving 1,000 power to all of our characters. They will take that hit. Now we're going to swing. Should we go wide or should we just go big? I'm thinking maybe we go big here, actually. We're going to swing 3,000 into one of their Sengokus, getting that off the board. There's no way they were going to counter out of that. And now 9,000 with our Zoro. Do they have the counter? They're going to have to give us a ton of cards. They do not. We'll pass it to them. They've got 10 Don to work with, but I really like the spot we're in. As long as they don't have blockers, we can just swing really big. With all those cards in hand, though, they probably do have some blockers. We have cards in our deck, though, to get rid of those blockers, whether it's a Mulgun, whether it is a Diable Jambe, whether it's the 5-cost Rush Luffy from starter deck 01. We're in a really good spot here, folks. I mean, I am a little bit scared about the fact we only have 2 cards in hand and they have so many, but yeah, I think we're still in a decent spot. They're going to play down the 3-cost Doflamingo blocker and place the cards on the top of their deck. Now a Duval blocker as well. 5 Don left for them to work with. Are they going to have anything else? Yeah, they got another 3-cost Dofi blocker. Okay, 3 blockers is kind of ridiculous. But if we just keep swinging into their life, I still think we're on the right track for this game to eventually go for lethal and win. They're going to use Perfume Femur here, which catches me off guard. I mean, I thought that was a misclick at first, but I think the real reason was that now they keep their hand at 5 cards, meaning that they could hypothetically use their leader ability next turn. If they survive, do not sleep on my chance to go for game here. We get the 1-cost Buggy off of our deck. With the 1-cost Buggy, we will find that 4-cost Mulgun. This will be perfect to get rid of one of their blockers. Unfortunately, I don't think we can go for game just because they have 3 blockers and 5 cards in hand, so it is a little bit tough to go for game right here, but we are going to be in a good spot. I'm thinking that we do use Gum Gum Mulgun to pop one of their blockers and then maybe swing into that Boa Hancock. That's not a bad idea if I say so myself. We're going to do that. We're going to give minus 5,000 to the Boa, and then we can just pop the Duval. I'm debating on whether or not I want to swing into their life with my characters now, or if I should swing into their leader. I'm going to start with the 6,000 power swing into their leader. They do have a blocker, and they will use it. Now I'm going to swing 3,000 into the Boa. They could easily counter out of that, but they decide not to, and now we're going to swing 8 into their leader. The fact that they are going to block out of this tells me they probably do not have 4k of counter in hand, which is amazing for us. If they've got a hand of bricks, yeah, I think we've got this game in the bag. They're going to use Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, then swing 2,000 into our Curly Dodon. The 2,000 isn't good enough, but I think that is perfectly fine for them because they'll still be able to swing into it with their leader. Maybe they were trying to play mind games there and force me to get rid of counter even though I didn't need to. Then they will play down the Duval blocker, and I'm so annoyed. Like, I could just finish the game right here, but this blocker is in the way. Our opponent forgot that we have Divine Luck though, and we top deck the best case card for us. We get the 5-cost starter deck 1 Monkey D. Luffy that can become unblockable. They're gonna block out of my swing from my leader, and I'm like, why would they do that? Do they really not have any counter cards? And yeah, they really did not have any counter cards there. So that's good game. On to the next one. Now we've got a game against Blue Doflamingo. This is probably going to be a really hard matchup for us. Perhaps. I don't know. Without Jinbei, Doflamingo definitely took a hit, but he is still one of the best decks in the format. We are on the odd curve. We're starting off with a Nami Search, and we do get that 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy, which will be very strong in this matchup. They're going to start with the Perona and place the top cards of their deck, and then pass it back to us. Now we have a couple of options here. We could establish some Makinos. That might be my best case scenario. Play down a Makino and a Curly Dodon. That 3-cost Sanji might not be amazing in this matchup because it can be bounced back relatively easy with that 4-cost Trafalgar Law, and if it's bounced back to my hand, then I do not get to take advantage of the on KO card draw. They're going to counter out of our 5,000 power swing with Nami. Now we've got a 5,000 power swing with Zoro. They're going to counter out of that too. I do not think this is the best idea for Dofi players. I think for the most part they like taking life early, and so they already gave us a 1k and a 2k. I think that's not ideal, but what do I know? With 2 Don left still up, we'll play the Curly Dodon, take a 1-cost Buggy. Hopefully with that Buggy we can find a card like Mulgun. I think Mulgun will be really good in this matchup. Of course, we also love a 0-cost event or a Radical Beam. They're going to swing and clear the Makino. I'm not going to save it there. Then they're going to swing 7,000 with their Doflamingo and then play out the Edward Weevil, drawing a card. Now they've got that rested 6,000 power body, which I would love to get rid of this turn. We're going to throw down the 5-cost Rush Luffy and then swing into their Weevil. Before we do that though, we will clear the Perona. 7,000 now with Monkey D. Luffy into Weevil. They're going to have to give us a 2k or 2 1ks. They do have the 2k, and now we'll swing 6,000 with our leader. Are they going to protect it? If they do, I mean, I really would love to get it off the board and hopefully keep this Monkey D. Luffy alive this next turn, but at the same time, if they want to counter and get rid of all the cards in their hand, they can do that as well. Now they're down to 4 cards. Dofi usually is pretty decent when it comes to card hand size, so yeah, I'm not complaining too much about this situation. You never know with Dofi. This deck is so strong. You should never really feel secure when playing against it. They're going to start off with a Sengoku Search and get a Gecko Moria from starter deck 3. This will allow them to bring a card back from their trash. 5,000 with their leader into our Curly Dodon. They are not going to use leader ability this turn, which is cool with us. Now, they still have 5 Don left to work with. I'd expect we see maybe a 4-cost Warlord and then giving a Don to their Weevil, swinging 7,000 into our Monkey D. Luffy. I will definitely counter out of this. There's no way I want to let this Monkey D. Luffy go just yet. Us keeping it on the board this turn is going to be absolutely huge. I'm going to get rid of the Makino. I'll keep that 0-cost event in our hand. We'll start off our turn with a Buggy Search and we whiff RIP. Now we're going to swing 7,000 into the Weevil, giving 1 Don to our leader. Now we can swing 6,000 into their life. They'll take that hit. Now we're going to swing 6,000 with a Rush Zoro. They will take that hit as well, replenishing their hand very quickly, but going down to 3 life. Then we'll play down the 3-cost Sanji as well, leaving that upright, of course. I only have 2 cards in hand, and the only card I have to trash with my 0-cost event is the Diable Jambe, which I'm not really trying to trash, so I'll really have to take whatever hits they swing into us with. They're going to swing 5,000 into our Zoro. They bottom decked our Sanji and our Luffy with that Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, which was absolutely perfectly timed. That is insane value. 5,000 into the Zoro, I gotta let it go. Then will they swing 6,000 with their leader? They could also just swing 5 and then play down a Perona or Sengoku. They're gonna go with the Sengoku Searcher now. They will draw that 2k OP07 Crocodile and then swing 5,000 into us. We will happily take this. We need some more cards in our hand to give us some more options of what to do this next turn. We get the 2k counter Sanji from OP01, and I don't think that's what we really wanted to see right now, but at the end of the day, it is still a decent 2k counter. We are going to find a Nami with our Curly Dodon search. Then with the Nami, we'll find the 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy. I think this is better than the Mulgun in this situation, but also a Mulgun would not have been a bad choice either. They are going to counter out of that 7,000 power swing into their Gecko Moria. I'm going to swing 5,000 now with Buggy into their Gecko Moria. I guess it doesn't really make a difference whether I swing 5,000 and 6,000 or just 7,000. I think I should have done 7,000 just to not turn that Buggy sideways. They're going to counter out of all those swings though, and yeah, I mean, this Buggy is going to cause a little bit of an issue for me, just being able to pressure our bodies or my life. But they did counter a lot that turn, so we got a lot of cards out of their hand. They're just going to go for my life, though. They're going to be a little bit aggressive here, ignoring that Luffy, which is a little bit surprising to me. But, of course, they had a plan. They had that 9-cost Mihawk, and now the momentum has definitely shifted back in their favor. We top deck a Magra, which is a good find right now. We'll be able to power up our Nami and hopefully clear this Gecko Moria. I mean, with all our swings, we definitely will. Now, with our Curly Dodon, we'll just swing 4,000 to clear off their Sengoku, getting rid of some of their bodies. Now 7,000 with our leader, they'll take, and we'll swing big with our Zoro 3-cost rush. We'll leave a Don up just in case we get a Radical Beam out of life and maybe want to use it or not. I think we should just pressure their life and really try to put them down low so that we can go for lethal. 9,000, they do take that, and we'll pass it back to them. 10 Don for them to work with. They're going to start off with a 2,000 power swing into our Nami with their Sengoku. Of course, I got to let that go. Feels bad as they're going to be able to decimate like my entire board, but it is what it is. Can't really do anything about it. We are definitely not in a great spot right now. 5,000 into the Curly Dodon. We are gonna have to let this go as well. I could use the 0-cost counter event, but I definitely don't think that's a wise use for it. As expected, now they've got 9,000 into the Zoro with their Mihawk. We are going to have to let that go. 10 Don for them to work with. They just decimated my board, and yeah, I'm in a not great position. With Jozu, they're going to bounce back their Sengoku and bounce back our Magra. I would have loved to have kept that on the board so it could be a swing next turn and we could potentially go for lethal with it, but alas, they saw through that plan and they bounced it back to our hand. Now they're going to play down a Sengoku, find something else. They'll find that 2k counter Trafalgar Law from OP07. That is a perfect find for them. And then we'll pass back to us with 3 Don up. There's a chance we could get lethal here with the fact that we just top decked a 3-cost Rush Zoro. I have divine luck, ladies and gentlemen. You know that by now. I'm thinking we just swing 8 and then maybe we swing 13 with our 3-cost Zoro. I guess there's a better way to do the math here, but I might keep some Don up just for a Radical Beam out of life, perhaps. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to swing 9 at them here and just hope for the best. We'll pass it back to them. Technically, they do have the right number of swings to go for game, but I don't think they will, and I think that we would be fine with the amount of life cards and the amount of counter we have at our hand. They're going to go 9,000 into the Zoro. This is perfectly fine for us, though, because at this point in the game, I think we just win unless they have double blockers. We do have that Diable Jambe in our hand. We got them to 0, and now we just hope for the best. Of course, I let that Zoro go. 10 Don for them still to work with. I expect them just to put a lot of pressure on life here. They are going to bounce the Sengoku back to their hand with the bounce law, which is genius. If they want to use that Sengoku, they can find maybe another 2k, or they just leave it in their hand as a 1k. They will swing 7,000 with Jozu, which we will take. Then they're going to play down the 4-cost Boa Hancock, give 2 Don to their leader, swing 7,000 at us, and yeah, we'll take this as well. I mean, or maybe should we counter out of this just to be safe? But I think even if we can't get lethal this next turn, which I imagine we will, unless they have all 2ks, which we know they don't, we should be okay. I'll counter out of it anyway. We've got the Diable Jambe, and yeah, this is just about to be GG's. Throw a bunch of Don on our leader. Can they handle a 14,000 power swing into their life? We know they can't, though, and that is game. GG's. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you. What did you think about them? Zoro is an absolute legend. He's been a legend since the start, and he's still a legend all the way 10 sets later. Consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It's completely free. It's painless. It makes my day, so consider hitting it. This has been a Johnny TCG video. Peace. Check out my other videos. I got a ton of OP10 videos. I got a whole playlist of different deck lists and different builds. So check out my channel, check out the playlist, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, tell a family member. You're tired of me yapping. Peace.